So listen, Jeff, let's talk about some of the news and notes through the wrestling business this last year. I want to oftentimes when you're with somebody, you hear the good news and the bad news. They'll say, "Oh, I got good news and bad news. Which one do you want first?" That sort of thing. Well, I think we should just get the bad stuff out of the way right up top as we
Oh
talk
boy.
about 2023. Let's talk about the lives we lost
Mm.
because there were a lot of really talented people in the wrestling business who are no longer with us. In no specific order, Bray Wyatt, a third generation superstar like yourself, Blackjack Mulligan to Mike Rotunda. Bray Wyatt starts out his WWE career as Husky Harris, but boy, that's not what he'll be known for. He really struck gold with the Bray Wyatt character, and he gets a lot of the credit for the way that character was created and evolved. And I mean, he really showed off his creativity outside of the wrestling ring with this character. And Bray Wyatt would become a WWE champion and eventually transform himself into the Fiend. He really is a central player. I mean, the first time he's on the main roster, he's in New Orleans at WrestleMania against John Cena. I mean, this is a guy who worked big time WrestleMania opponents, had big time feuds, guys like The Undertaker, guys like Randy Orton, guys like John Cena. And he was the head of the Wyatt family. He worked with everybody, the John Cenas and the Undertakers and The Rock. Man, gone way too soon. August 24th, he passed away at just 36 years old.
Mm.
Golly, dude. I mean, that's the halfway point for a lot of men in America. And here he is being cut down at just 36 years old. Gone way too soon. A story that unfortunately we hear all too often in wrestling, but this one is hitting extra close to home. You know, all those young babies at home. Just a sad story, man. How much time did you spend with Bray in your time in WWE?
Well, that was it. I produced and did live events and international. Those are the kind of three buckets that I worked in. But whether it was on the producing side / creative side or the live events, I worked with him quite a bit during my time there. He was always, the main event on the live events. And I've told that story before that the chairman and me at about 2 a.m, Vince more or less dictated an entire match, which was fascinating as I look back into it, on Vince getting in to the mind of the character and the mannerisms. And he was taking on Seth Rollins, and, Vince wanted to make sure that I had it down and had to send it back to him, and he approved, and I took to the live event and working with Bray. But, when I saw Bray, the Fiend merch numbers, when you saw his reaction, when you just kind of saw all the kind of the barometers and how the people responded, look, there's nothing that I can say that makes, it's hard to really come up with certainly any new descriptors, but creative and talented and unique and an enigma. And, years ago, as Undertaker got rolling, late 80s, early 90s, and all through the Attitude Era, just kind of how Rock, Stone Cold, DX, all those characters in a lot of ways that were personified the Attitude Era, if you will. The NWO was Attitude Era, but Undertaker, in a lot of ways, was timeless. Well, the Fiend, gone way too soon in so many ways, but his rise to prominence, like you said, is as the Wyatt family, but he was the leader of that. But from the very beginning, when that character launched, you knew, if you knew Bray, okay, that's an extension of his personality. And man, that is special and unique and creative. And, I think there wasn't any person on the creative team or anybody in the WWE at the time that didn't have to say in the early days, now that's a little different. Is that going to work? And man, it wouldn't just work, it would go through the roof. Bray, and I say this so many times on this pod, connecting emotionally with your audience. He did it on multiple levels. And it is, on me and Mike rode up and down the roads together, and he third generation and all those connections, but from the non-wrestling side, the human side into it, you have to reflect, and we'll never know why, but God was ready to take him home. Only the good die young, as Billy Joel says. So Bray was a unique, I hate to say this, sweet soul.
I don't think you should hate to say that.
In the Fiend doesn't go together, but I'll say that Bray, he's a sweetheart of a guy.
Super awesome.
The interactions, and I'll get emotional. The interactions that he had with Cody are irreplaceable.
Yes.
There's I've been in the business my whole life, and when you see different guys say hello to your kids, and the other night, that was that was 2 nights ago. Last night, my youngest daughter, SmackDown was on, and she did a double take and saw AJ. And so they grew up around AJ, but Cody going to the matches and being a huge Fiend fan, when Bray noticed that Cody really liked him, the time he spent with him, and come on into my dressing room, and it just goes to show where Bray's, not his mind was at, his heart was at. So I'll never forget that kind of stuff. And Cody has that memory. He's got a picture of Bray in his room that was taken backstage. So sweetheart of a guy.
In a weird way, Cody has helped you separate the good people in wrestling from the turd human beings, has he not?
Well said.
I'm just saying, like, you and I have talked before about how I am jealous.
You always come up with I would have never really, I don't say verbal. I don't think I would have gone down that thought process, but boy, you ain't kidding.
In a weird way, I'm not saying this to sound the way it does, but it's almost like he's your accidental drug sniffing dog, like he can, or bomb sniffing dog. Like he knows, okay, there might be a problem over here, and you can just see as he moves around how people interact. It's like, all right, that person gets that this is entertainment and it's supposed to be fun. And if you had to use one word to describe Cody, it's fun. Cody wants to have fun, and I don't know. I just he's the light of your household. I'm jealous, and I'm glad that Bray got to sit with him and spend some time with him.
He sure did.